Hello everyone, welcome to Bajirao IAS Academy previous year questions analysis. In today's session, we are going to discuss the previous year question paper of UPSC that was asked in 2021. Today we are going to discuss the General Studies paper 1. So that includes Indian history, particularly questions from Indian art and culture, modern Indian history, that includes the personalities, key events during Indian national movement and Indian society, and also the post-independence Indian history, along with the world history and also India and world physical geography. Right, so today we will discuss few questions. We will understand how we can structure those questions and how to write the best possible answers. And the overall objective of this program is to make sure that you write best answers in your exam so that it will help you score good marks. So first question that we're going to discuss is about the Bhakti movement. See, Bhakti movement is very significant whether it is for prelims exam or it is for mains examination. Okay, so therefore you have to keep track of this Bhakti movement. You have to focus more and more on the Bhakti movement. So in the context of Bhakti movement, the question here asked about the Bhakti literature. Okay, now evaluate the nature of the Bhakti literature and its contribution to the Indian culture. So what is its contribution? What exactly its contribution to the Indian culture? So that is what we need to understand. Now briefly describe what exactly is the Bhakti movement and the Bhakti literature. So the development of Bhakti movement in India that particularly took place in Tamil Nadu. Okay, so this is a very important because there are important saints like Shankaracharya, Ramanujacharya. So they were from Tamil Nadu. So the development of Bhakti movement took place in Tamil Nadu and it took place between the 7th and the 12th centuries. 7th and 12th centuries. So originally it began in South India. So Bhakti movement originally began in South India in the year 9th century. Okay, for example, Shankaracharya initially started propagating this Bhakti cult. Okay, so he spreads all the parts of India. The Bhakti movement was spread by Shankaracharya all the parts of India. And by the 16th century, so there were there was a great spiritual force. There were more and more number of Bhakti saints. Okay, so that is a spiritual force to reckon with. Especially there are some saints like Kabir, Guru Nanak and Sri Chaitanya Deva. Okay, I hope you all are familiar with these names: Guru Nanak and Kabir Das, Surdas and Sri Chaitanya. Sri Chaitanya is from West Bengal region. After that there are few saints from Maharashtra also, like Tukaram. Okay, so even in Andhra and Telangana region also. Okay, so Sri Pada Vallabha, Vallabhacharya, Nimbarka, so they were also from the Andhra region. So because of this reason, it is often said that the Bhakti movement originally originated from the South India. So the first question, the first part of the answer, that is the nature of the Bhakti literature. Now what exactly is the Bhakti literature? The literature that was produced during the Bhakti movement is known as Bhakti literature. Now if you look at the nature of the Bhakti literature specifically, it is propagating the inter-religious harmony among different communities. Okay, Bhakti and Sufi supported each other over various Sufi saints' recitation. Okay, they are very often found places in 6 religious canons. For example, if you talk about the Guru Granth Sahib, it has incorporated the teachings of Kabir. Okay, so even the spread of Bhakti cult is particularly due to the adoption of vernacular languages. Now if you look at the nature of the Bhakti movement and the Bhakti literature, it is very often produced in the vernacular language. So that has helped in the further spread and easy propagation of the Bhakti movement and the ideas of during the Bhakti movement. So therefore over a period of time it has become too easy for the masses to understand. Now after that we need to talk about the inclusive literature that was propagated and promoted by the Bhakti movement. Okay, so this inclusive literature particularly preached for the removal of sectarianism and also the casteism. Now there were different religions that were present during the medieval times, and that has created some sort of a sectarian conflict and the sectarian rivalries among different sects. And after that, the casteism is also another major problem. Okay, so in Bhakti movement, casteism is one of the major problem. And the this Bhakti literature particularly called for inclusion of all castes, and even it has propagated its ideals against the caste system and essential equality of all religions. Okay, now after that, the second part of the question is talking about the contribution of Bhakti literature. Okay, so what exactly is the contribution of Bhakti literature? Now firstly we need to talk about the growth of vernacular languages. So as we have already discussed that the Bhakti movement mainly spread and propagated in the vernacular languages, so therefore it has helped in growth of the vernacular languages. Now if you look at India in terms of linguistic diversity, so one of the main reason for such a huge linguistic diversity is because the popularity of these regional languages. So that was started with the Bhakti movement, we can say. So therefore the growth of vernacular languages, the Bhakti literature has promoted the growth of the vernacular languages in different parts of the country, whether it is Tamil, okay, and in Karnataka, Maharashtra and other southern parts of India. Okay, so therefore it has helped in the spread and propagation of vernacular languages. Now after that, if you talk about the eastern Uttar Pradesh, Sufi saints such as Mullah Daud, he is actually the author of Chandayan. Okay, author of Chandayan, and Malik Muhammad Jaisi, the author of Padmavat. So you very often hear about the movie Padmavati. So this was written by Malik Muhammad Jaisi, and they mainly wrote their books in Hindi. So and apart from that, Sufi concept, they also put forward the Sufi concepts in the form of which could be easily understood by the common masses. Okay, so these things will be easily understood by the masses. Why? Because so they very often propagated all these things in the vernacular languages. Now after that, we need to talk about the Eastern languages. So as I have already told you, I've already discussed you about the Hindi language. So in Hindi language there were few Sufi and Bhakti saints who have propagated this language. Now after that, we need to talk about the Eastern group of languages. So what are the Eastern group of languages? For example, we need to talk about the Bengali language, Odia language. Okay, so they come under the Eastern languages. Now Bengali was particularly popularized by Chaitanya. He was a Bhakti saint, and and by the poet Chandidas also. Poet Chandidas. So they were popularized the Bengal language through the Bhakti literature. Now, in fact, they wrote extensively on the theme of love of Radha and Krishna. Okay, so this was also written during the Bhakti movement itself. So it was also the Bhakti leader Shankar Deva who particularly popularized the use of Assamese. Okay, so this is also part of the Eastern group of languages. And in Assam language, in Assamese language, a Bhakti leader called Shankar Deva, so he popularized the use of Assamese in Brahmaputra Valley in the 15th century itself. So therefore he used an entirely new medium to spread his all ideas. Okay, so why it is said that he used a new medium? Because he used the vernacular and local language to spread his ideas. And since most of the literature in these vernacular languages, so these ideas can be easily reached to the masses. Now after that, we need to talk about the Maharashtra also. So in Maharashtra, Marathi language and Bhakti literature, particularly in the Marathi language, has reached its apogee. Okay, so if you remember the words like apogee and the perigee, and the apogee is the farthest, perigee is the nearest. Now apogee at the hands of saints like Tukaram and Eknath. So these were the Bhakti saints. So they have produced numerous literature accounts or literary accounts in the Marathi language to spread the ideas of the Bhakti movement. So therefore, altogether we can call that the emergence of new cultural tradition is possible with the influence of Bhakti as well as the Sufi movements. So also the Bhakti movement has led to the emergence of new religions. So these religions are not orthodox religions, rather these religions are called as the heterodox religions. So they have propagated the ideals like equality, so and one god, the worship of one god, etc. So therefore it led to the emergence of new sects like Sikhism and even the Kabir Panthi. Now Sikhism is one of the most popular religions in the world, and the origin of Sikhism takes place in India. Now apart from that, there is also a huge philosophical growth as well. So we can mention this all this as part of the contribution of Bhakti literature. Now when we talk about the philosophical growth, the post Vedanta ideas were explored by the Madhavacharya through the Dvaita. So Madhavacharya from the Kannada region, so he explored this through the Dvaita, and Ramanujacharya through his Vishishtadvaita. Okay, so these were the main ideas or the main things they were propagated through the Bhakti movement. Now while writing the conclusion, you have to mention the overall significance of the Bhakti movement. So how it has left a remarkable mark on the Indian culture and the Indian society. Okay, so how it has inculcated or nurtured the diversity in India. Now the Bhakti movement or the ideas of the Bhakti movement continue to permeate the cultural ethos of the Indian society through an enormous body of literature left by them. So they have left an enormous body of literature. So therefore in this context, the congruence of their ideas not only saved us from the likely internecine conflicts, but also built the spirit of tolerance. So okay, so it has built the spirit of tolerance. So to appeal to the common masses, and their messages composed into the songs, proverbs, stories that led to the development of Awadhi, Bhojpuri, Maithili and number of other languages. Okay, so this is how it has been led to the development of various other regional languages. Okay, now the next question that we are going to discuss, it is about the Young Bengal movement. So if you read the modern Indian history, you come across the modern Indian, you come across the Bengal movement. Okay, so you come across Young Bengal movement. Now in this context, trace the rise and growth of socio-religious reform movements with special reference to Young Bengal movement. Okay, so this is particularly talking about the rise and growth of the socio-religious reform movements with special reference to Young Bengal and Brahmo Samaj. Okay, so this answer have to be written in 150 words, and this is a 10 marker answer. Right, now in this context, the Indian society in the first half of the 19th century was actually the caste ridden. Okay, so it was actually caste ridden. Now we all know that during even modern times also there was a caste inequalities that were present in the Indian society. Okay, so Indian society in the first half of the 19th century was actually caste ridden. So it is a decadent and a very rigid system. So in fact there were various reformers like Raja Ram Mohan Roy, Ishwar Chandra Vidyasagar and Swami Dayananda Saraswati. Okay, and even Swami Vivekananda. So they tried to reform the Indian society. So they tried to ensure that equality, women empowerment, women education. Okay, so they fought against all these social evils. So they have successful in persuading the people to give up the degraded age-old traditions. So they were degrading age-old traditions like sati and child marriage, polygamy, female infanticide. Okay, so they have fought against all these social evils, and they even shown the way for adoption of a new way of life. Okay, respecting the dignity of individuals, equality among the masses or different classes. Now, in this context, the question has been asking us that write the contribution or trace the contribution of Young Bengal and Brahma Samaj in this socio-religious reform. So firstly, we need to talk about the Brahmo Samaj and Raja Ram Mohan Roy. Now, even if you have a basic idea about the modern Indian history, so you know about the Raja Ram Mohan Roy and his contribution, because if you look at the Raja Ram Mohan Roy, he is known as the father of modern Indian Renaissance. Father of modern Indian Renaissance. Okay, so because of this, and even Raja Ram Mohan Roy fought against the sati, the practice of sati. That was a bit of uncivilized practice, the practice of sati, and he even fought for widow remarriage, improvement of conditions of women education, female infanticide. So because of all these reasons, Raja Ram Mohan Roy is known as father of modern Indian Renaissance. So we already discussed, he is known as father of modern India's Renaissance. So, and a tireless social reformer. So he is known as a tireless social reformer because his activities spread from a wide variety of social reforms. So because of this reason, he is called as a tireless social reformer who inaugurate the age of enlightenment and liberal reformist modernization in India. Okay, so with the Raja Ram Mohan Roy and with his activities, they started the age of enlightenment, and also the liberal reformist modernization in India has also started. So in fact, Raja Ram Mohan Roy has founded the Brahmo Samaj in the year 1828. Okay, so what was the main aim of the Brahma Samaj? So the overall objective is to ensure that the worship of eternal God. Okay, so he fought against the idol worship, and he also propagated the idea of monotheism, so which is in line with the belief that there is only one God. Okay, one God. So therefore, the main aim of the Brahma Samaj that was established in the 1828 is to propagate the worship of eternal God. However, it was against the priesthood, rituals, and other sacrifices. Okay, so it strictly opposed these things, priesthood, rituals, and sacrifices. So in this context, the greatest achievement in the field of social reform was abolition of sati. So we all know that when William Bentinck was the Governor General, abolition of sati took place because of the efforts by the Raja Ram Mohan Roy. Okay, and apart from the above mentioned contributions, so we need to talk about the polygamy, the practice of polygamy. Okay, so he advocated for the abolition of polygamy. So polygamy involves multiple marriages, okay, for men, and he also wanted women to be educated and given women should be given the right to inherit property. Now if you look at the contemporary India, even the right to inherit property is not even given to every woman. Okay, because we are living in a patriarchal society. So therefore, at that time also, Raja Ram Mohan Roy advocated for the right to inherit property for the woman, and also he encouraged women education, widow remarriages, and he fought against the abolition. He fought against the female infanticide. So therefore, all these activities have led to the emergence of rationalism and enlightenment in India. So because of all these activities from the Brahma Samaj and Raja Ram Mohan Roy particularly, so there was an age of enlightenment and rationalism. So that has started in India, and that led, because of this reason, he is known as the father of modern Indian Renaissance. Now because of these activities, so it has given further thrust to the Indian nationalist movement. So we can say that they build foundations, they build a proper platform for the moderates and extremists to take forward the national movement later stages. Now after that, we need to talk about the the social and religious and political movements that took place in India during the modern times. Okay, so India's modern Indian history. Now we can rightly call Raja Ram Mohan Roy as a front runner, as a forerunner, or as a father of all social, religious and political movements in India in later phases. Okay, so this is the specific contribution of Raja Ram Mohan Roy to the socio religious reform movements in India during the 19th century. Now after that, we need to talk about the Young Bengal movement. Okay, so that was spearheaded by the Henry Louis Vivian Derizio. Okay, so he was the one who spearheaded this movement. So he joined the Hindu College of Calcutta as a teacher. So okay, so Henry Louis Vivian Derizio has joined the Hindu College of Calcutta as a teacher. So Derizio promoted the radical ideas. So what are the radical ideas he promoted? So the ideas which were not acceptable to the society at that time. Okay, so he used to preach or teach these radical ideas, and he even organized an association for debate and discussion on various fields like literature, philosophy, history and science. So on these fields he regularly organize debates and discussions, so that it will help develop a mind which may fight against the social evils. In fact, Derizio has also inspired his followers and students to question all authority. So don't accept the authority, but question authority, because at that time the colonial rulers were mainly responsible for the misgovernance. Even droughts used to took place. They never provided food grains, and peasants used to live a miserable life, and women education was discouraged, and not enough encouragement has come from the government side as well. So therefore, in this context, Derizio and his famous followers known as Derizians or Young Bengal were fairy patriots. So they were fairy patriots. So they have advocated the radical ideas. So they cherish the ideas of French Revolution 1789 AD. They have cherished the ideas of the French Revolution. We all know that the French Revolution is majorly responsible for the spread of ideas like liberty, equality and fraternity. So therefore, in this context, the French Revolution is mainly responsible for spread of these ideas. Okay, so and even the liberal thinking in Britain has been propagated by or spread by this Young Bengal movement. However, Derizio died because of cholera at the age of 22. At a very young age, he was died because of cholera. Now, apart from attacking these social evils like bigotry, superstition, untouchability, further system, sati, child marriages, social inequalities and illiteracy, so these are all the social evils. Okay, so these can be categorized as social evils prevalent at that time. So apart from attacking all these social evils, the social and religious reform movements it helped in dealing with the racism perpetuated by the colonial rule. Okay, so there was a feeling of racial superiority or racial supremacy among the British. So in fact, these socio-religious reform movements were also fight against the racial superiority that was perpetuated by the colonial rulers. So this eventually led to the development of nationalism against the British government. Okay, so this ultimately helped in fighting against the British, developing nationalism against the British government. Okay, so in this conclusion, you have essentially summarized so whatever you have discussed. Okay, so this is how you have to address this answer. So the next question that we're going to discuss is about the princely states. Okay, now at the time of independence, we had several princely states. Okay, so we had several princely states, and after independence, immediately British withdrawing India. So it is a huge task. It is an uphill task to integrate all the princely states. However, the Home Minister of India, Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel, so he took up the task and successful in integrating all these princely states. Okay, now in this context, the question has been asking that assess the main administrative issues and socio-cultural problems in the integration process of princely states. Now, when the question is asked, you have to focus mostly on the main administrative issues or the main administrative challenges and the socio-cultural problems, so which arise during the integration process of these princely states. So you have to focus on these things alone. Okay, so therefore you will get good marks rather than writing everything about integration of the princely states. So just address what is asked, what is given in the question. Now in the introduction, you just write about this, what does it mean, integration of the princely states. The monarchical states subordinated to the British India were termed as princely states. So what are those states? So earlier there were a few states which were ruled by the monarchies, which were ruled by the princes or the kings. So they were under the British subordination and they were called as the princely states. So we all know that after independence, around 535 princely states were merged with India. Okay, so in this context, the word princely state was deliberately retained during the British regime to ascribe subordination of these rules in the subcontinent to the British crown. Okay, now why the princely states? For the princely states, why the princely is remained? So this is to ensure the subordination of these states to the British regime. Okay, so after that, there were, at the time of independence, India's independence, there were more than 500 princely states. So they used to cover around 48% of the pre-independence India, and they have constituted around 28% of the population. And because of this reason, it is very important to integrate all those princely states. Now it is all about the integrity, the unity and integrity of India, without any internal conflicts and internal rivalries. Okay, so we can say that the national movement has further cemented the aspirations of the people for the national unity and integrity. Now the first part of the question is writing the administrative issues in the integration of princely states. So what are the main administrative issues when we talk about the administration of these princely states? So firstly, there's a lapse on the British paramountcy. Okay, so immediately after independence, there was a lapse of the British paramountcy, okay, on the princely states as well, because there was an Indian Independence Act 1947. So it was based on the Mountbatten Plan, provided for the lapse of paramountcy of the British Crown over Indian states. Now immediately after independence, there was a lapse of the British paramountcy. And many of these rulers of the princely states actually saw the departure of the British as an ideal moment to declare independence or to declare their own autonomy and announce their independent statehood on the world map. So they wanted to establish themselves as an independent state, independent princely state. So when British left India. Okay, so however, the national leaders and the people of our country have different plans. So because they don't want to live a suppressed life under these monarchies. Okay, so after that there was a signing of instrument of accession. Now Indian government has signed the instrument of accessions with various princely states. Okay, so these are the administrative issues. Okay, so the instruments of accession executed by the rulers provided for the execution of dominion of India. Okay, so they wanted to they wanted accession to the dominion of India on 3 subjects, namely defense, external affairs and communications. They wanted to remain as a separate and independent states, but when it comes to the defense and external affairs and communication, it is being transferred to India. Okay, so it is being transferred to India. So with this condition, they have signed the instrument of accession. So after that, we need to talk about the power and prestige of these rulers. The princely states were not comfortable with the idea of giving away their own power and prestige, because of course when they are merging their princely states, their independent kingdoms, with the Union of India, so they feel like they are losing their powers. So in this context, the princely states were not comfortable with the idea of giving away their own power and privileges. So in fact, some of these princely states posed several problems, like Jodhpur, Bhopal, Travancore. So before independence, and Junagadh, Hyderabad and Kashmir post independence, they have posed a lot of problems. Okay, they have posed a lot of problems. Now Kashmir has been integrated in India with the instrument of accession signed by Raja Hari Singh. Hyderabad, there was a police action on this, and in Junagadh, plebiscite was held to merge these princely states into India. So apart from that, we need to talk about the availability of natural resources in these princely states. So in fact, some princely states had a good reserves of natural resources. So therefore it believed that it could survive on its own because it has a lot of natural resources, mineral resources. So they feel like they can survive on their own. So hence they wanted to remain independent. So therefore in this context, it has also posed further challenges in integrating these princely states. So after that, we need to talk about the connectivity and agrarian support. Okay, so if they wanted to remain part of India, they wanted to be independent, then what about the connectivity for those states, and what about the agrarian support which is being provided by the government of India, because most of the rivers are flowing through the mainland India. So therefore the Rajput princely states, for example, they are in Jodhpur. So despite having a Hindu king, a large Hindu population, they strangely had a tilt towards Pakistan. Okay, so the Rajput princely state, they have favored joining or merging with the Pakistan despite a Hindu king and Hindu population. So apart from that, the second part of the question, that is the socio-cultural challenges. So what are the socio-cultural challenges in integration of the princely states? So firstly, we need to talk about the Kashmir issue. Okay, so initially Kashmir was not ready to integrate with India. So however, the Pashtun tribe, so that was armed tribe supported by the Pakistan, has started conquering the Kashmir. Okay, it has started waging a war. So therefore Kashmir king Raja Hari Singh sought India's help in this regard, and India has put a condition that Kashmir has to sign a treaty of accession. So on certain conditions, Raja Hari Singh has signed the treaty of accession. Thereby India pushed back these armed tribes. Okay, so this was a princely state, a Hindu king ruling over the predominant, a large number of the Muslim population. So they remained reluctant to join either the dominion of India or Pakistan. Okay, so what happened after that, I have already told you. Now Hyderabad also, when it comes to Hyderabad was also reluctant to join any of these dominions. Okay, so it was one of the largest and most richest of all the princely states that were present in India at the time. Okay, so in fact the Hyderabad princely state had covered a large part of the Deccan Plateau. So because of this reason, as I've already told you, that there were few princely states which had a huge mineral resources, and they felt like they can survive on their own, and Hyderabad is one such princely state. Nizam Mir Usman Ali, he was presiding over a largely Hindu population of the princely state. Okay, so Nizam Mir Usman Ali was the prince of the, or the king of the Hyderabad princely state. So he was very clear on his demand for the independent state. So he wanted an independent state, and he refused to join the Indian dominion. So later period of times, so there was a police action, Operation Polo, that was conducted to integrate Hyderabad into India. Now after that, we need to talk about the Junagadh also. This is located in Rajasthan, Gujarat. Okay, so the princely state was situated on the southwestern end of the Gujarat, and it did not accede to the Indian Union by August 15, 1947. The strange case is that Junagadh has a large Hindu population, but it was ruled by a Muslim king. Okay, so Hindu population but ruled by a Muslim king named Muhammad Mahabat Kanji III. So he was the Muslim king, and he inclined to merge this Junagadh with the Pakistan. Okay, so on September 15, 1947, Nawab Mahabat Khanji chose to accede to Pakistan. Okay, so he in fact ignored the Mountbatten's views, so arguing that Junagadh adjoined Pakistan by sea. Okay, so in later periods of time, Junagadh was also merged with India through plebiscite, where majority of the Hindu population would choose to remain with India. Now Junagadh is also remained with India. Now we have addressed the demand of the question, both the administrative challenges and the socio-cultural issues in the integration of these princely states were actually discussed. So therefore the interim government that was led by Indian National Congress had negotiated a full integration of the princely states into India. And in exchange, he offered the rulers a tax-free privy purses guaranteed by the constitution. Okay, so the right to retain titles and the property palaces. So a former home minister, Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel, so has promised a certain privileges for these princely states and the kings of these princely states, so thereby forcing them or persuading them to merge the princely states with India. Okay, so that's all for today, and tomorrow also we will have few more questions for the discussion. And thank you so much. Please like the video if you like our work, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Thank you.